this computer. Yeah. And Genesis, I think your iPhone, right? I think I saw you there. And then I see Kelly's note taker. Are you actually here as well, Kelly?
I'm here. I'm just off video. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool. All right. Well, we have all been here before. I don't think there's an amazing Anza coming in right now, so I don't think we need to do too much of a introduction. Aza, you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello. I'm not going
Welcome.
to be able to stay too long because I have another meeting soon, but I just wanted to check in.
Cool. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, we've all been here, so I don't really need to go through much of the introductions. We'll just kind of jump in. So last month's design challenge was to reflect on scale of your community project, like what size, how many people are in your ideal envisioned project, how much land, and then where would this be and why you would choose that location. And I'll share a few of the things that I wrote down. Then we'll just take a couple of minutes here if anybody wants to share any clarity you have on the scale or the where of your project. I have a pretty broad spectrum of scale. Like I'm open to a smaller group of, like 10 people coming together on, a handful of acres and doing something similar to what we did for our 2-year project from 2018 to 2020, that more small, intimate scale. And then I'm also really intrigued with Dunbar's number, which is around 150 people. And there's a lot of reasoning as to why. Like I learned about that in permaculture, and I won't go too deep into it right now, but how many people can efficiently work together and actually know one another and maintain interpersonal relationships. And then the Regen Villages group, James Ulrich, a professor at Stanford, has done some research. And when they were doing the economics of village design, I need to look at my notes, but I want to say it was between 250 to 300. And I can't remember if it was actually people or living, like dwelling units, like homes, but where the economy of scale started to make sense economically. And so that's kind of my range right now, from about 10 to 300 people is what I'm interested in. And then where I'm open to quite a few locations, California, Colorado, New Mexico, North Carolina, Costa Rica, Mexico, kind of anywhere in Central and South America. And the specifics I put were good soil and climate for growing food, access to abundant clean water. For me, I want to be in a rural area surrounded by beautiful nature. Bonus if there's mountains, waterfalls, hot springs, oceans, lakes, or rivers nearby. And then within 30 to 60 minutes of a small town, and within 1 hour to 2.5 hours from like a decent sized town or city with an airport. So that is kind of what I came up with for the design challenge for my scale and my where. So let's open up the table here. If anybody wants to share, if you have some clarity onto the scale that you're focused on and where.
Yeah, I can start. So mine's pretty specific since we are launching in March at this place called the Tico Time River Resort. It's 80 acres on a river. They have 110 RV sites with full hookups. It's 20 miles from Durango, Colorado, which has an international airport. And then Aztec, New Mexico's about 30 minutes away. And so it has the potential to be around 300 people. And we would also be focused on setting it up as a behavioral healthcare agency with a mission to help people overcome their mental health issues, mainly done through peer support. So we'd be able to work with Medicaid. And so the main community, though, would be up to 300 people, but then opening up to other people that come in and receive some of the services. Also with regenerative farming and with the earth that's on site, we'd be focused on building with super adobe structures. And yeah, a little more specific. That's where kind of further along down the path.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. I love hearing the specificity. And how many hookups did you say are there for like RVs there?
There's 110 currently, but the owner that we've partnered with, he has a construction company, and so there's a lot of space that we're looking to build micro homes, so they'll be fully powered. You know, he can run electricity to anywhere on the property, and all the 110 RV sites are also set up for solar. So we want to also move in that direction to get it self-sustaining.
Cool. And this project is called Tribal Lights for anybody that missed that part. So thank you, brother.
Yep.
I'm excited to talk with you more soon.
Yeah, we're also getting accredited in 2 years. So all the programs, you know, for the holistic wellness practitioners or the permaculture practitioners, it'll be a vocational training initially, but then we'll be able to get accredited so people can use their financial aid and student grants and that kind of stuff to also support the revenue model.
So accredited through, like, can you explain a little bit more what that means, like the accreditation?
Yeah, so it's a process. You have to have a running school for at least 2 years. And so we'd be going through the New Mexico Higher Education Department. And so we'd have our full curriculum, course syllabus, program teachers who have been certified. And then after 2 years, we would have an accrediting agency come in and just certify our legitimacy. And we would just have to show how people are gaining meaningful work and actually using these certifications to acquire jobs, which we would actually be creating on site through the holistic wellness training. We'd be actually hiring the people that go through the training. And we're looking to replicate the model pretty soon. So we'd be able to do that.
Awesome. And for anybody that's not familiar with Tribal Lights, a lot of this is also to serve the native and indigenous population of that area, from the Navajo and the Dene tribes, and yeah.
Yep. Southern Ute, Mountain Ute, Pueblo. It's in San Juan County, which is where more Native Americans live than anywhere else in the country. And so Farmington is the closest town, and they have no overnight services. The closest place is like 5 hours away, and they have a 6-month waiting list. So we'd be able to help with that need. So the grant we applied for through the USDA for 800,000 that we're looking for other donors to match so that we can unlock the grant. That the only reason I found out about this resort was really needed in that area. So it's kind of a mix. It's a little unique of a model because it is a behavioral healthcare agency with a spin of intentional community, which doesn't really exist yet.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, brother. Does anybody else have any clarity that you'd like to share around the scale of what you're ideally envisioning for community and where? Peter.
Yeah, so mine's actually really similar to what you were mentioning, Josh. I basically envision having a community of 144 people at its max. That includes, families with kids, and then those 144 people would be in groups of 12. And then there would be a council of 12. And we would have a central school, a hospital, quote unquote, with a lot of different holistic approaches. Then we'd have a shala for medicine work and drum circles, council meetings, things of that nature. And then the vision is to create it like a retreat space as well for yoga and other forms of people to come for retreats. So yeah, that's kind of the in terms of scale and size. And then it would be at least 150 acres, so that there would be 1 acre per adult with extra land for wildlife and forest and everything like that to thrive. And I think it's going to be very intertwined with the nature there. So that's pretty much the vision for it.
Beautiful. Like, I think maybe you and I talked about this last time. Like, I was really focused for a long time on the living 12-person living clusters, 12 of them, 144 Dunbar's number. And so, like, I'm not so attached to that number anymore, but like definitely the 12 and the 12 and the 144 I have a lot of resonance with. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have anything you'd like to share around the scale and location of your community project or your ideal community project? Reiki, I see you logged in. I'm not sure if you're able to talk right now or not. I'd be curious. I saw you post something recently, and I know you're looking at North Carolina area, and I'm curious if you have any specific scale that you're really resonating with.
Sure. It's hard. I mean, I really love the 144 size for every village. So it's kind of a fractal model where a neighborhood would have around 12 families, a village would have around 144, and the larger community that's part of could be, any size. This could fractal up or down, however big we want it to. So I'm looking at that model, starting off with like a neighborhood, i.e., 12 families coming together and setting the foundations. So I think that's a good starting point. But yeah, I'm open for anything. I'm really interested in models where each family has about 2 hectares or 1 hectare at minimum to be able to grow food, and it being more of an agricultural food producing, net exporting of food community. I think that's really important for all sorts of resiliency and actually having a foundation to build on top of. If we're not being fed, what's the point? So that's kind of where I'm at. And also, last thing that's really interesting to me is the non-human life forms and planning for them. So here in North Carolina, our plans intentionally involve where do the beavers fit in, the otters, the bears, the squirrels, and all the other more than human world that could help us regenerate and create beautiful places to live. So that's where I'm at. Was part of a project that recently became a father, and I was leading that project. It got way too overwhelming, and I'm looking to join one that's already got some momentum and to kind of put my energy and effort behind something that's already established. So I'm looking for something out in the Appalachian region. So that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thanks, brother. Okay. So unless anybody else has anything that they really want to share around scale or location, we can kind of go on to our first topic of discussion for today that is not from last month.
I can chime in here
Okay.
on that. So yeah, thanks for everybody who shared. I'm really interested about the North Carolina project and also Tico Time. I was just over there for Unison. So curious about what's going on with both those projects. Me personally, I've just heard kind of secondhand, but that 100 families is kind of the minimum to be able to have sustainable a project be sustainable through, no matter what conditions the Earth might go through, as far as, economy and things like that. So curious about that. And then location wise, most interested in the United States, just for, again, overall security under any economic or turbulent times that might come. I just feel like United States is more prepared for that in several ways. So yeah, but very interested in Dunbar's number and what that is, and to hear more about that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, brother.
Yeah, I didn't mean to have a painting of myself right above me, but there it is.
That's great. And I feel like maybe 2 months ago, we got into some of this conversation around location, and we won't go too deep into this right now, but some people like saying like, oh, I feel like actually more secure with things upcoming potentially in the United States, and some people feeling like more secure wanting to be outside the country for reasons, and I actually had a really interesting conversation with somebody yesterday down here in Mexico, in Baja. They have a little community about an hour from where I'm at, and totally off grid, a lot of really knowledgeable permaculture people, natural builders. This guy has a beautiful natural like earth bag home built on sacred geometry. It's phenomenal. And he had some interesting reasonings why he was like, I want to be outside the US. And in terms of some people's concerns of like the, like the centralized digital currencies and stuff that are rolling out, and, social credit scores. And, if somebody doesn't want to get vaccinated or something like that, like all of a sudden is their bank account turned off. And like down here, he's like, they're still like pretty much everything's cash. They're in pesos. Like they don't have like the CBDC, and like, just like, I think it'll take longer for things like that to affect places like Baja. And so it's interesting to take all those different perspectives into like when we're looking at a location and what countries, and yeah. So
yeah, interesting, very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Joshua.
Yeah. Okay, so our topic for discussion right now is going to be, and I'll post some of these prompts in the chat. Who are our people? Who are your people? Who do you really want to build community with and be in village with? And a couple of these prompt questions are, what are the demographics and background of the individuals you want to attract to your community? What skills, expertise, or professions do you hope to have represented in your community? How will you ensure diversity and inclusivity within your community? And how do you go about finding your people for the community? Are they people you already know and are friends with, have built history and trust with? Or will you go about ways of finding new people with aligned values and vision? And if trying to find new people, what are the best ways to do this? So let's go into like a little breakout. I think there's or maybe 8 of us or something. So like maybe I'll create a breakout room. So there's just like maybe 4 of us in each breakout rooms. Assign manually. Yeah, let's do that. And so for, like maybe each person in the breakout room can take around like 2 minutes or something. Let's maybe take like around 8 minutes to chat in our breakout room, smaller group, and then we'll come back into our main room here and do kind of a wisdom share of any real key points or takeaways that we came out from our breakout session. So let me add room 1. And let's see, put and Aza, are you still with us? Don't know if want to consider her in a breakout room if she's not there. So New Earth development. Okay. So got a breakout room for about 8 minutes and then we'll be back. Any questions before we zoom out to questions about who are our people? Okay. Ashley just zoomed in. Which Ashley is this that just joined us?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
It's Ashley Mazanik.
Hey, Ashley, how's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. We're just starting a breakout room for discussion around who are the people that we want to build community with. And we have a series of prompts. Genesis, did you see your invite to go to room 1? Okay, there he's there. All right. So I'll repaste them in the chat if you want to read them, Ashley.
Cool.
But basically, yeah, who are the people that we want to build community with? And if they're people that we already know, or if they are new people that we don't know yet that have shared values and vision. And then if that's the case, how do we find them? So we're going to do a little breakout room around that. And then we're coming back. There's 2 rooms right now. So we'll kind of open up the space to hear what anybody wants to share.
Awesome.
So I think that it would be awesome to for the community that I'm envisioning and calling is dedicated to self-growth, expansion, and connection to the planet and its cycles. Like deep connection and love in particular to the earth. I think it's really important to have that communion with the planet and for everybody to kind of be on the same page in terms of accountability and in terms of integrity and being able to admit if something was done wrong or in a way that isn't in alignment with the rest of the community, so I think that's the answer to the first question for me. Skills and expertise, I mean, in the beginning I think it's really important to have builders, architects, those kind of things. I'm really curious about people that have already gone through that process, like what kind of professions really help the most in the beginning stages.
Yeah, I think let's take note of that question. Kind of like, let's let everybody kind of share their thoughts on who their people are, and then circle back around of yeah, what type of people we think are important at the beginning.
Cool, sounds good.
Phoenix?
Yeah. I feel super blessed because the location we're at has these music festivals, and it like Unison brought together 5,000 people, and at that time, well, the list that's been acquired is around 60,000 people that have been to this resort, and so like we have this massive pool to market to, and so when we were doing this mastermind, and within the mastermind, I created teams. And so you have the holistic wellness team, the permaculture team, the media and storytelling team, the marketing and fundraising team, and then the education team. And so everyone has a variety of different skills that they want to bring to the table. But in my mind, the intentional community needs to have a mission. And so our mission is to provide holistic wellness to people that are struggling with these issues. And so really the type of people that we want to align with are peer support workers, because it's been studied and proven that the most effective intervention is peer support beyond any kind of therapy or medication, psychology. Just one person sharing their experience in a way that inspires someone to change by just saying like, hey, I can empathize because I've also been through the same struggles, and here's what I did for myself. And then letting them kind of come up with their own treatment plan that can include all the different services that we're offering, sweat lodge, ice plunge, yoga, meditation, breath work, drumming, dancing, all these types of things are evidence-based. And so they're more likely to try these things if they're being inspired by someone who benefited from these services. And so the best thing is we can get reimbursement through Medicaid for that. And so it opens it up to people that would never be able to afford this type of high-end treatment. Normally when you go to a treatment center, it's like donuts and coffee and cigarettes and 12 steps and Jesus. So I've been through 7 of them, and that's why where all the inspiration behind it comes from. And then plant medicine as well, for people that are good candidates. And then we actually plan on building a darkness retreat, like in a cave. So for people that are on medication, that wouldn't be good candidates for that type of experience, they could still have some similar mystical experience through this kind of alternative. Yeah. So I think that answers the questions.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I have so many questions I want to ask about all these, but I want to give everybody space to talk. So I'll circle back around. How about you, Reiki?
Well, I just want to mimic everything I just heard. Everything is fully aligned. So I'll just speak from what we haven't really talked about too much is how maybe I'll just jump into this. I think you guys will get it if I jump off the deep end. But what I've been really focusing on and what I'm planning on starting in the spring is it's called the Rites of Passage. And essentially it's a series of quests that people who go through it's multifaceted as every rites of passage is, but it's helping one, if someone actually makes it through the rite of passage, that was how they got in. So if you're opening up a community, our thoughts are, let's have a rite of passage process. And that could look like a lot of things. Part of the process might be, hey, you need to learn nonviolent communication because that's how we like to communicate. So part of the rite of passage is, going to a course on that or something. All the way up to this rite of passage includes, healing your gut biome and doing some deep inner work and being committed to that, because we're a community of practice that's committed to that. And we want people who can, be on that journey with us. So our rite of passage is some way of demonstrating that. So that's something I'm putting together right now as a rite of passage series to try to attract people, because a lot of the rites of passage, they're open, anyone can participate in it. And then it's really like who actually made it all the way through then becomes the, ideal candidates, if you will, for actually moving into a village and, living somewhere. But then it's a way of really being able to, share the wisdom that we're gaining from our journey and our experience. So that could be baked into the rites of passage. Yes, that's a big concept that we've been, playing with lately. And the other one is then the rite of passage game uses the tools that the community uses to coordinate. So you're talking about having a food forest team and a natural builder team and holistic healers team, etc. Like the game actually is kind of like a game board where people are in roles being part of that team. So, and this kind of changes the economies too, which I think is something interesting to talk about. Because, quick example, I'm sorry, I'm kind of ranting, but I think this is interesting. Way back in Chinese Empire history, they learned that if they're paying doctors when they were sick for healing, emperors were learning this, that they found themselves being sick more. And there's actually then evidence of some of the healers, the doctors actually poisoning the emperor's teas so that he had a certain disease so they can continue to pay, them to get healing, right? So that's kind of what we have with capitalism right now is we have this weird system where, you're creating problems in order to solve the problems because it keeps you into a job. But I think we have an opportunity with our communities to fundamentally change our economic system. So if you have a team, the team is meant to do something and achieve an outcome. So maybe it's doctors, their goal is to achieve health for the community. And then they're going to get paid if they're achieving that goal or not if people are constantly coming to them for healing. So now as a doctor, your best route is, preventative medicine, the stuff that's going to prevent you from having to work really hard. Because it's way harder to do surgery than it is to convince someone to change their diet. Maybe, sorry, that's probably not true. But anyway, it's way more effort probably to do surgery on everyone individually than, of course, on a massive scale, people changing habits. So that's what I'm really interested in too, is then how can we create new economies that are kind of like games? So when people show up, they're like, okay, this is crazy. I don't know how to live in a new community. What does that game process look like where they can learn about it? But then also that's the journey to being more involved in the community, actually learning about the community. So that was a long-winded way of saying that's kind of what I'm trying to condense into is what does the game process look like? And then that game is open to, anyone to play. By playing the game, they learn about the community. They go through these rites of passage. They're figuring out what role they might want to play in the community. So, you're a doctor or a dentist or something completely useless like you're a lawyer in the past world, what are you going to do in an eco village? Do we need a full-time lawyer in an eco village? Probably not. Is that really what's, lighting you up? Also maybe not. So what is that journey that you can learn what role you actually want to play? So that's something else we're really looking into is then how do people transition from being a lawyer in the old world to a natural builder in our community? And how do we support that journey too? So that's something kind of all baked into what we're considering right now. Along with wanting to repeat everything that was said because it was so spot on for me.
Beautiful. Thanks, brother. I love the idea of like the game and the rites of passage, and I'm wondering like if this is already in your thought process, and if not, I'd love to explore this with you and all of us. Like that game, that process where we invite like anybody into that has interest in community with a couple core values, like living in right relation and stewardship and, whatever those couple core values we put in. And then they start this game. And then through the process, like we filter like, oh, like maybe this is, this person is a good fit for Tico time in New Mexico. Or maybe this person is a good fit for the new forming community in North Carolina or with Peter in Costa Rica. And, we help filter through like, I think that's a fascinating concept because I'd be down to
Probably
explore
also
that.
a necessary concept because for any village to succeed, you need all the different skills, right? You need the natural builder and the healer and the food grower and everything, right? But what we typically find is people have their social networks that are, highly concentrated on one thing or another.
Yeah.
It's not very often that your social network is so diverse.
Yeah.
So I think it is almost necessary that we create this filtering because each community tends to be heavily weighted in one way, which then creates problems. So we need to mix more intentionally. So then I think the game is where you learn what role you want to play. And then you're going to see the organizations, i.e. villages, land projects, or whatever out there who are looking for that role. Okay, I was a lawyer. I want to be a natural builder. Okay, Tico Time needs a natural builder. Actually, no, they don't. There's 5 of them there. So never mind. Maybe I'm not going to join that village. I'm going to go join another village where they are needing my skills, and the gift I want to bring to the world.
Yeah.
that make sense?
I love this idea. I'm gonna close the breakout room and it'll give us like 60 seconds before the other people come back in. And I'm actually gonna run to the bathroom real quick, guys, but you'll have like 60 seconds to chat. So go for it.
I'm curious, Phoenix, in your community, how are you guys? Is there a process that you guys are working on to, like kind of what Riki was talking about, like something similar to the rites of passage, or some sort of questionnaire, or how are you filtering who's coming in?
Yeah, I love this idea. I actually wrote it down because there should be like a process people go through in order to be certified to join the community. And I think having like a 90-day window to where you're kind of under review, and then letting it be up to the community. So it's not like one person making the decision, but we have like a council of people that are already in the community, and then based on what we think about the group of people, we all collectively decide who we want to invite in.
Beautiful.
But yeah, we're wanting most of the people to go through the certification process, which it's an online training, it's free, but still, like, you get certified as a peer support worker, and then with that you at least have the training. And in my mind, like, that's the best way for us to avoid turning into a cult, because it trains people to never like tell people how they should live. Like, it's all about, here's what I did, and you're trained to never like coerce people into doing anything. So hopefully we have like a variety of different types of people with different philosophical beliefs and like different paths. So we're calling our peer support workers pathfinders. So there's like many paths, right? And we can help you find your own. Is kind of the idea behind that.
Nice. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Love the Pathfinders. Well, welcome back, Ashley and crew from the other breakout room. Yeah, let's take 5 to 10 minutes and just kind of do wisdom share from anything that felt super prevalent in your discussion in your breakout room. All of us that like kind of that wisdom harvest what we all talked about and bring out some key points to share with the group as a whole. So anything that you all would like to share from your breakout discussion? We had some great things in ours, but let's hear from you guys for a bit. Either of you want to share, Ashley or Genesis?
I just have in mind what I shared already, and I could share that again, which is basically that keeping in mind the things that have gone on, like I mentioned before, Joshua, you've heard me say it, and events of 2020 and the wars that are going on right now. Just kind of like, it's important to me culturally that my community is aware of like the large hand kind of looming over the majority of society on the earth at this time, at least in the Western world, as far as I can tell. But not to have a focus on it, like not like we're not like zeroed in on it, like worried about it, but we're just kind of aware that these are things that are going on, and we don't really choose to participate in those things. So that's important to me culturally for my village where I live.
So a way, like, I'm thinking of like how to like feel like attract the people that have shared values, and a process for learning about people. And like there's so many different, I mean, obviously each community or person needs to get really clear on what their core values are, their deal breakers, and then that's going to help people invite in the the type of people that they want to create with. And yeah, I guess there's some very hot topics that like right now what I hear, if I think I might hearing you correctly, and I might not be, but like around like a little bit more controversial things in society at large of like the vaccinations and centralized digital currencies and social credit scores and those things are pretty I'm learning those are pretty hot topics. Like those are pretty potentially volatile topics. Some people might be like, hey, I'm vegetarian, but I'm okay with people in the community eating meat. Like I like this pan not to be used for, meat or something. And there's things that I feel like are kind of people can work and find their differences. And then some people I'm finding have really strong values around like, I don't want to live in a village, in a community with anybody that's vaccinated. Like there's people that I've had that communicate that very clearly, and like, and then there's other people who are very open to that. But so like that filtering process of what are, so potentially some of those volatile political or social feelings, and some people may have strong feelings around that or not. Those are very different vibes of communities,
Yeah. Yeah, all the things you said are the ones that are top of mind for sure. I wouldn't personally, I don't know if we want to get into it at this level. Would you like me to share where I'm at personally with those things, like where my lines are that I would draw?
Maybe
Is that
like we
of
won't go
interest or not?
like let's
Yeah,
not go super deep into it, but like I'd be curious
yeah,
just to hear because it's like it's a
yeah,
and we maybe don't want to have everybody go into this, but like yeah, like
yeah.
if just like a little bit of layer on that, yeah.
So a little layer would be like I'm not hardcore about, hey, if you ever did that, then you're not welcome here anymore. No, that's not it. It's more about the vibe. Like, what are you, I guess for lack of a better term at this moment, like what God are you serving? Is your mentality and what you're serving in that vein still, or are you like opening to other ways? That's kind of vague, I'm realizing as I say that, but that's where I would start.
Okay.
It's more about the
Cool.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like
Yeah, go ahead.
it's more and like keep, yeah.
I'm sorry, Phoenix, I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I was thinking like maybe just having a hard rule, like no politics. Like anything that's divisive is just like we don't talk about those things. We're fully focused on solutions. And yeah, and like what is our mission, and just like being really firm with staying focused on what it is we can do to actually make a positive change. And anything else is just like it's just I don't know if it's like forbidden, but like we just try to steer people away from having those conversations that are divisive.
Yeah, I like that focus on solutions.
Yeah, this is a deep one that yeah, like part of me like likes that idea of like this is like forbidden like divisive topics, but then there's also part of me that wants to invite like deep authenticity and people that don't want to need to walk on eggshells around one another, that they're fully able to be like, hey, we have differing perspectives on this and we feel safe to talk about them together. Yeah, is a kind of a different angle on that,
Yeah, it just for me it seems like a waste of energy. It's like unless you're gonna do something about it, unless you're gonna like, you know, go protest or go like write some new policy and run for office. But it's just like we could spend this time that we're, focusing on this thing that we're actually gonna not do anything about. That time could be spent better if because our time is limited, and I don't know. That's just where I'm at with it.
I think what I'm hearing from Joshua, what I'm hearing from you, Joshua, is that there's some opportunity for responsible shadow work in that. If we can share from a place of responsibility, and do whatever work is there and not push, and what I'm hearing from you and what I'm hearing from myself is not push those things down, but expose those parts in ourselves that are controversial and hot topics, and hear each other from where we're coming from. And to me, that is doing something. That's actually exposing and relating at a level that is vulnerable.
Yeah, I think in terms of like politics, you know, if a community, like let's say a core value of a community was to use sociocracy or holacracy as a governance model, that is somewhat of a political stance of saying we have a decentralized and distributed process for power and authority within the community. It's a more of a consent-based decision-making process, rather than like a super majority vote of 51%. So in a way, like a community operating in that level would be actually doing something around governance models that in a way you could say is political, because you're creating a different form of governance model within the intention of your village. So yeah. One thing that I would share with Genesis, Ashley, like from the other, Bob from the other breakout group, Reiki brought this up of a concept for kind of a game and a rites of passage for who kind of filters into a village and a community. And I don't know, I haven't got the answer from Reiki yet if this was already part of his thought process and idea, but I kind of chimed in and got excited around, for, you know, Reiki's focusing on North Carolina. Phoenix is in, you know, south of Durango, New Mexico. Peter's focusing on Costa Rica. If we had this game and this process where we have a big wide funnel, we're inviting many people who are interested in community living into this game, into this process, and through each community's core values that they've created, we have a series of questions and parameters that helps filter people through and be like, oh, you might be a good fit for tribalites and Tico time, or you might be a good fit for this community here. And then the rites of passage, you know, Reiki had some great ideas around that I can let him expand upon. For like each community could be like, here's kind of some of our rites of passage for what we feel is a good fit for our community. But I like that idea of a game and a process to invite really anybody, like with a few core values of like, you have to care about the health of the planet and other human beings in life, and like you want to live in community, cool, you can come into this game. And then you filter through, and you know, maybe we've got 10 different community projects that initially that it helps filter people to or something. But I'm pretty intrigued by that concept.
I like that.
Yeah, I could drop some of the material we were thinking about, like as part of the idea around this game, for training, to have people go through this. It's too long. But yeah, for like a Pathfinder certification, as a way for the people to get like a really robust amount of training, and have it be certified and give people this like designation. And then with that, it includes all the different trainings. That would be really great for everyone to have, to be able to be of maximum service to everyone coming in. There's like it's still too long.
So I'd love to share more about this game tool that's been built over the last 7 years or so now. But within that game, there would be things like badges. So Phoenix, what you just mentioned, of having gone through that Pathfinder, process, that training and learning, at the end of it, you would get a badge. And then you as a human are holding that badge saying, I've done this, like a Boy Scout or Girl Scout. But then communities that are like, yes, you need to have this badge in order to be even thinking about joining our community, they can say that, right? But we can have a wholly decentralized and open process of doing this, where any community can decide what badges they're looking for the people they're looking for, and offer different badges for different trainings and processes they're putting on. So it'd be like badges. And then the other thing that we can offer would be quests. So quest is like do X, get Y. And this is where the rites of passage could come in, because it could be like, you've got to do all these things. And after you've done it, then you can, come and show up at our community. And it could be literally anything, right? And the rite of passage is one way of thinking about it. Is kind of like membranes, like in our bodies, like there's a membrane between the gut and the heart. We're all one body, we're all one. But there's a very big difference between gut cells and heart cells. Gut cells need to withstand, acidic environments. Heart cells wouldn't be able to live in the gut. And I think that's one way of looking at our projects, is like some projects are going to require, certain types of people. So what is that membrane that, ensures that you belong in that, organ, that environment? So that's one way of thinking about this game. And then of course the game concept is just, fuck man, this is so hard. Transitioning to new cultures is really incredibly difficult. So the more fun we can make it, the more like a game we can make it, I think the easier the whole process is going to be. And of course, the more fun we can have. So this is something we've built. It's also why I'm kind of hanging out in this group and meeting other awesome humans. And come this winter and next spring, we're launching the game with as many land projects that want to join. They can all launch their own version of it. So the game, this infinite game, is this one meta game that involves all the micro games. Micro games coming from every project. So if either of anyone here or anyone in this network wants to join, make a game for their community, that'll be fun. And we're doing that starting this winter into spring. And it's also part of that filtering. So that's something we've already kind of been thinking about the last couple of years. And by we, I mean Regen Civics. It's this alliance of projects and organizations that are helping land projects. But it's also land projects. So I think we could all form together and say, okay, we're all one alliance. If you join the alliance, then you can come and find the land project that's right for you and your family. You can also move between them. So I think it'd be really nice to have the interoperability between our different projects and have some type of shared agreements there. So this is stuff we're thinking about and playing with. And if you want to come play, I'd love to play with y'all. Okay, I'll shut up.
No need to shut up. Reiki. So Regen Civics, is Regen Civics a totally standalone thing, or is it a branch of Haifa or Seeds, or how does it play with Haifa and Seeds, and what is Regen Civics?
Regen Civics just came out of conversations like this, and it's still happening like this, where groups who are doing things in the regenerative civilization space, all different capacities, whether building tools or actually having land projects, etc. There's so many humans that are doing that. After so many conversations, we're like, we need to work together. How do we work together? Regen Civics is just an alliance between a bunch of different land and organization projects, and more are joining regularly. We haven't functionally launched yet. That's what we're doing this winter.
Okay.
We're actually issuing tokens to all the founding projects. So between now and winter, if you join, you're considered a founding member still. But we've been doing this for 2 years now, actually building groups and helping projects launch and designing games and getting the tools ready. So this whole journey has led us to now. And I'm just surfing synchronicity, if you will, which is why I'm in this group. And maybe y'all want to join. And that starts this winter. So winter will show up and we'll actually claim tokens of this alliance. So we all have a shared interest in the whole alliance.
Cool.
And then we can fundraise as a whole alliance. So instead of each project trying to fundraise on our own, which tends to create a lot of problems and waste a lot of time, and it's not even a good deal for investors because it's a high risk proposition. Instead, we create an index from the onset or say, projects that reach this criteria could all be part of it. And then an investor will come in and say, I'll invest in the whole alliance and get a share of all the projects. So it's a lot better investment for me, better upside. We can take more money, etc. And then the other function of this alliance, which is comprised of all of us, is then how do we direct this money to each one of our projects? So we can use something like sociocracy or create it all sorts of governance systems, however we want, that when money comes into our alliance, how do we govern it?
Yeah.
So we've thought about this for the last few years, but again, actually playing the game, which is us designing this alliance, starts this winter.
Awesome. Well, I want to be part of the alliance somehow, some way or another through, I don't know what project it'll be, but yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, this is exciting. This is fun. Like it's nice to see even, you know, from the bigger group that's been on some of these masterminds to like even these smaller groups. Sometimes I actually really enjoy like just when there's like 4 or 5 or 6 of us and like, you know, can go a little bit deeper into these things. And yeah, like I'm looking forward to playing the game.
Yeah, Reiki, how do we get added to the list with kind of joining that process?
I'll follow up if you want. I had no intention of sharing any of this today. It just kind of happened. So I didn't come prepared to share documents or anything. And I wasn't prepared to even share about this until, you know, later because it's not launching until winter. But I could share with you guys some stuff, or if you'd like, maybe in a future regenerative development call, we can actually have a formal presentation. I could share about this game because I think it's going to involve a lot of us because we've been doing this work already. The game is really just acknowledging that as an alliance and making it formal so we can start actually coordinating together effectively. It's kind of like, how do we skip the stages of becoming a multinational company instead of 150 years of, you know, doing the capitalistic grind? How can we kind of flip that, create a whole ecosystem from the onset? And I think that will be really powerful for all of us to do. So maybe that makes sense. If not, I'm happy to share about this more and continue facilitating this journey.
Yeah, and I think also because it is a really intense process getting accredited as a university, and like it costs quite a bit of money as well. And with that, you know, I'm open to collaborating, you know, if this game can be structured as, you know, a legitimate course in a way that will process. I think that that would be a really beneficial thing for anyone that's, because it doesn't have to be like done on site. Like all of this can also be done remotely anywhere in the US. And so we're calling it an Illumiversity. So, you know, like the permaculture program, like the Pathfinder program, like if we can set it up in a way like this can be transcribable or can translate to any intentional community and allow people to play this game, but in a way that allows people to like channel financial aid, which is free money from the government to pay for these trainings. I think that's where my mind keeps going, because I know like every intentional community, the main challenge is funding. And then once you get started, the main challenge is revenue. And so I kind of I nerd out on that idea because I know that's, you know, energy, and you have to have energy to get it going and to sustain it. And so I think I've figured out a way to do that. So I'm happy to collaborate with these models however I can.
Awesome. Well, there's some real, I'm feeling good. There's a lot of good stuff coming through this right now. And I feel like these questions, they overlap, and this is, I'll put here in the chat, kind of what the prompt was. Oh, and Reiki, I do remember watching a video from you, sometime in the last probably 6 months, that gave a pretty good overview of like regen civics and the benefits of why like an investor would want to invest into an alliance of projects and all of that. and I can't remember. Yeah, you've created so many great videos. I can't remember which one that was, but Phoenix, like there is, even though they're not ready to like launch that until this winter, there's a couple really informative Regen Civics videos that if Reiki can hopefully maybe connect you with the right one, and it'll give you, everybody here actually probably would be interested. Actually, I posted one of them. I think you shared one. I posted one in our Telegram group, I think actually a couple months ago in the community building resources or something. So there's a pretty good video in there from Reiki in the Telegram group.
Nice.
So the next question, kind of topic, is at this point, it's a good thing to ask ourselves, does this community already exist? There are many resources that will support your research inquiry to see if the community already exists. If so, you can explore the options of joining a community that already does exist. And I have a couple websites there of like ecovillage.org, ic.org, and New Mundo. And there are, a lot of great communities out there. I feel like all of us that are on this, it seems like we're more into creating something. Like we've all been in this discussion for quite a while, and I where I've been open to either. Like if I find the right community project, like I'm happy to join in and support it and something has momentum, and if doesn't exist, I'm happy to work from the ground up. And I feel like with like Tribal Lights and Phoenix, like we've been talking about this stuff for years, and I'm really interested in what you're doing. And so like, even though it's not already established, part of me, it has a lot of intrigue to like, join in with you and the momentum that you've already been working on and support that. Like I'm very, very interested in Tico Time. And Kelly, she had to drop off, but she was on here with New Earth Development. They're looking at a pretty interesting, I think 600-acre property in Costa Rica. And, I'm intrigued with what she's got going on there too. So I'm just up for the biggest impact and the most fun and the just the people that I resonate most with, like just have, a loving experience doing it. Like it's, yeah. And all of you on this call, actually, I feel that with. So, yeah. So, yeah.
So one other tool I wanted to share is just coming up, and this is something that I just launched a couple days ago, because we do have so many people that want to help, and right now we don't have funding, so it's kind of challenging to be asking for all this help, because we're asking people to help us fundraise, and what do they get out of it? And so I'm all about incentivizing people, and so and it's done through our website. Well, first off, the person that wants to help, like say they have like a social media audience, or they might know a big investor or a donor, they can go through this portal, and all they do is they put their name and email address in it, and then they get a unique code. And with that code, they share that code, and it takes them to our webpage, tribalights.org/reconnection camps, which has, a couple videos, and it's a funnel. And the funnel is to either get people to donate, join the team, sign up for a retreat, or become a founding member. And if any of those transactions are done, because we're going to be launching the Serenity Festival in September, which is a holistic wellness recovery-based festival at Tico Time. So if they buy a ticket, if they purchase a course, which we have courses there as well, if any kind of transaction is done on the website, they get a 5% commission. So if somebody makes like a $10,000 donation, it's attached to their code, and it's all tracked on this platform, Go App Pro. So it's a way to incentivize people. And so now, since it is like a recovery-based project, I have a list of all these influencers on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. And so we're going to be reaching out to them to say, hey, can you support this project? We'll give you this code. And so any transaction that's done through the website, you'll get a 5% commission. So just like a unique way to fundraise that's been done through, it's called affiliate marketing. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Phoenix. And I remember looking at your funnel page recently and some of the videos. They look really nice. And Reiki, I did watch I've watched a lot of the videos and stuff you've done. And one of them, Reiki goes into explaining things pretty well with the tools that they have through, and I don't know if it's exactly if it's through, I sometimes get confused whether it's like Haifa or Seeds or Regen Civics where it lives, but the process of, he goes through like not needing to wait for the money to start, because there's a lot of different resources that are already present, and financial, fiat capital is one of those, but they have a pretty great process through.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to your invitation.
There you go. You're right there. Where they can really track those inputs of like where people are somewhat building equity into the project, even though they, if somebody's putting in cash, that's one way. And if somebody's coming to volunteer on community garden day, that's another way. If somebody's showing up for meetings, like a lot of different ways people can start to build credit into that community, that ecosystem. And so whether it's Haifa or Regen Civics, like they've got a pretty great platform to already start tracking that. And like it'd be interesting to see how Tribal Lights and the affiliate marketing stuff that you've already done could play into kind of what Regen Civics is doing.
Yeah, I don't understand any of that. I need to watch these videos because it's beyond me at this point, but I'm gonna see what I can learn.
Real brief, Phoenix, from what you shared and from what I understand, I actually know about Tribalize.
No,
It could be a beautiful fit.
Tribal Lights. There's Tribal Live.
Tribal Lights.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Tribal Lives is
Well,
different than
right.
Tribal
I
Lives.
don't know about Tribal Lights as much, but regardless, everything you've been sharing, super beautiful on the line. I'd love to. I'd love to see what you've been working on with the affiliate marketing side. I see that that's like a low touch way, which is great. I think that could be really synchronistic. This is more of a high touch, which is, how do you actually find your core team? But one project that I loved used a similar process to actually get the land. The land that they got, epic project in the Azores, and this land wasn't for sale, would never have been for sale. It wanted to be given and be part of a project where a community was coming together so they could, have their grandkids be part of that village. That was what the landowners wanted to happen. They had too much money. They didn't care about selling it, right? But they needed a process where they were going to be recognized for giving land. It's a huge asset. And they want to be recognized equitably for contributing that. So basically how this game works then is, okay, you're going to give 6 million in land. That's a 6 million contribution. You're going to get 6 million tokens to recognize that. Okay, you're giving your time. You're showing up every day. Well, we're going to pay you a really awesome wage because we can and we should. But we can't pay you in cash right now because we haven't raised money. So you're going to get tokens instead. So you're getting recognized. And then the part of the game is, what do these tokens mean? We don't know. Are they equity? Are they owning the land? Are they access tokens? Are they just tracking your donations you've made to a nonprofit? Like they could be whatever a community wants them to be. But what's important is just recognizing the contributions as they come in and not thinking we need to just raise money and then use money to buy stuff. Because it could say, instead of raising money to buy the tractor, you could say, we need a tractor. Who wants to contribute a tractor and get the value worth in these tokens, right? And then these tokens are on crypto and you can trade them, and maybe people want to speculate on your village and whatever. And I think that's a way we could really fund our movement, is by then connecting these two things. Because right now in the larger money markets, there's a lot of money looking for a safe investment that also knows there's a climate crisis and civilization's collapsing. If we can create a pool of land projects and say we've got 100 of these, we've got thousands of these. So they're really safe. They're backed by the land of all these villages, and we're producing food. We're healing land. We're healing people. We're doing all these incredible things. If you want to invest in this, I think that's a huge thing to be able to create. And that can bring in more capital for us to continue to fund new projects and get rid of this problem where everyone has, can't get the money to do these projects. It's ridiculous. So that's really what I think we could all come together and do. And then the game is just, what does it look like doing this together? And we're not going to say it needs to look a certain way because that's ridiculous. And it's got to look a million different ways. And that'll be more fun anyway. We need a lot of different games, right? So anyway, I feel like I was not prepared for this, but I appreciate how much enthusiasm there's for actually being part of creating the new systems together. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, I
Thanks for
mean,
entertaining me in my robe.
you, and I mean, maybe you weren't planning on sharing as much of this, right now in this discussion, but I mean, there is so much that Reiki has shared already through the videos and stuff. Like there's a lot, like you said, some of this has been in development for 7 years, some of it for a couple of years. Like there's a lot there that I'm really grateful for, Reiki, and like I'm looking forward to, I feel like, yeah, I'm just like ready to jump into the game and like co-create the game with, those who are ready to do it. And
So is seeds your thing, Reiki?
I was part of helping name it, but I wouldn't ever try to claim it. So definitely was part of helping get that started back in the day.
And so this is the main platform that you're referring to track and manage all this.
Oh, well, kind of. Haifa is, split off from seeds and it's its own thing too. But I mean, it's like a body, is the brain different from the heart? Yes, but there's one body, so it's hard to say what's different. And that's how ecosystems ought to be anyway. But anyway.
Yeah.
So Haifa built the tools for then any project to launch their own DAO. And then Seeds is this interoperability platform where we can all have our own bioregional currencies or village-based currencies, whatever. We can make our own money that way. And then Seeds then becomes a token that helps connect us. So then if you want to get from your bioregion or village currency to one across the planet, Seeds could be that interoperability network that helps us do that. So if anyone wants to plug into Seeds, then they can, plug their community, or you don't have to. So I think that's what's necessary with these games, is just to make them, incentive-based, voluntary, and fun. And if we do that, I think we can have something that works. So anyway, Seeds is the money layer. Haifa is kind of the DAO, creating your own economy layer. And that's where the game comes in, because if we tell people we want to create a new economy, their eyes will glaze over and that'll be really difficult. If we say we're going to play a different game, which just happens to involve creating a new economy, just like any game really does, they all typically have their own kind of economic systems and governance systems. They have all these complex things, but it's built into, Monopoly or Risk, these kind of easy games. So as the concept here is, this movement's really big. Talking about these big pictures is hard. How do we really simplify it into a game? Let's create a bunch of these different games. Every project could be their own. That'll be fun. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is finding all of the initial projects. So the last piece that I'll give you guys is we went through this season 1 of 13 different land-based projects. So all over the globe, different sizes, walking through what their game might look like. And we learned a bunch. We're not prescriptive here because we have no idea. This is a journey. So it was really about learning what was needed in the game. So that was about 2 years ago. So when we relaunched in winter, we were launching season 2, which is more land projects actually launching their games and then inviting more people to come play them. So if you want to come and, design a game for your village or project, about how people can contribute capital to it, their time, money, resources, all of it is a contribution. The game just helps track that, but then also give something for people to do, like show up to a garden day and earn some tokens, come help us build a house at a natural building workshop. Because, what really triggered me, and then I'll shut up, I promise, is I was going to permaculture projects and giving all this time and energy and putting so much into the project, but then leaving, with less money and resources I had than when I got there, right? So it was like kind of like permaculture was applying this, obtain a yield principle to all the people that were coming to it. And there wasn't, the right relationship and reciprocity there. So that's really where the impetus for the game kind of emerged from, is like, how can we show that right relationship and actually build community, equitably recognize people who are showing up and also get started sooner, so we can start, recognizing people's contributions today, even if it's an hour or two a week they can give. That helps us get started without thinking that money is our barrier, and then asking for money's permission to make them obsolete. It's anyway.
Yeah, I'm definitely I mean, that all sounds great to be able to do that. And I think also on top of that, having a securities token available for raising money alongside to actually be able to purchase land and build everything. I think we were considering block cities, which is a blockchain platform that has a securities backed token. And so it's kind of like fractional ownership. And so I started to explore that because they also have a utility token that involves, voting and that kind of stuff. But potentially, because there is 200 acres that is connected to Time, that would be for sale, and it's all set up for farming. And so the bigger vision is to set up, an eco village more with a much larger farm, and then people can own their homes, on this land or own a fraction of it. And so if we use that platform, um, it has smart contracts built in. So if it also integrates with the metaverse, so we can launch a digital version where people can go see the site and then they can put in $20 or they can put in however much, and the system will be able to track that, and kind of they can lock it in for future use. So it's kind of like a timeshare. So yeah, I am open to these like new technologies to ground in the new earth.
And Reiki's very humble, and like, I mean, it's not saying Seeds was his, but I mean, Reiki has been very, very involved in, creating a lot of these things with Haifa and Seeds for a long time. So he's, very, very foundational in a lot of them. And you two both share something of, you both recently have had children, and I feel like both of you really care about, raising your children in a community and village and culture that you feel aligned with. And so just kind of like letting you both know, you both have, new children, that I think is part of your inspiration as well.
Yeah. We do have work traders. There's already like 12, there's 4 people already living there. But the deal with them is like it's a work trade, so they get to live there for free, essentially. As long as they put in like 13, 14 hours a week of work. But if there's like an additional incentive to where we can track this with token, and then eventually build that token into something that's valuable in the future that, could be speculated on. And then, yeah, if that's what it, if starting sooner makes sense, I'm open to having that conversation.
It seems like it's a good idea to get, like, even if it's something as simple, it's already in process of there's 4 people doing work trade at 13 hours a week for a place to stay, whatever that agreement is, that maybe that doesn't need to be put onto the chain and a platform right now, but to like start tracking that and like showing that, and then like that just can build into that token later on, where it's like, oh, maybe you can also use that, like you've built a few extra tokens, where then you can trade that with a farmer that's in the network for, some vegetables, or, just like start getting that in there. And right now it just could be like, oh, it's just that wash of like 13 hours for a place to stay. But like, if you start getting that token in there, then you can build on that with other elements.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Ashley, I'd love to hear if you have anything to say.
I'm sort of taking notes, but like reflecting on everything you guys are saying as you're saying it, and like integrating it into my own world.
Yeah.
Yeah, my recent approach is to go to the places that I think I might want to be a part of. In particular, the Blue Zone on the Nicoya Peninsula is really interesting to me. So I'm going to spend my December there since I'm a teacher and I have the break in December. I'm planning on going to a bunch of little Blue Zone towns with a couple of friends and spending some time there and thinking about clearly these places. I mean, you're asking us to sort of define success and our values. And I really think that people that are living to be 100 years old with almost perfect health, they're doing something right. And they tend to have a strong sense of purpose. So I don't think it's all centered, health guru type of thing. I think it's, family oriented and very much like community oriented lifestyle. And I think that's the kind of lifestyle that we're all kind of getting at, is to meet all of our needs as a community and to also synergize in a way that we make ourselves better people as the result of being part of a cohesive whole. Whether that be by, intellectual rapport and by challenging one another, or by literally building things, growing gardens that make us more connected to the land, or that help to regenerate the soil, or, help to protect our water systems. And so I'm working on, for both, I'm taking that vacation with the intention of thinking, could I live here? Do I want to live here? Should I move here? I have an opportunity to buy a small piece of property, and I do it in San Diego and then rent it out and then go be in Costa Rica or be in, in a blue zone and sort of spend some time thinking about if I want to live there, or I might buy property in a blue zone and post up there for a little while and see what I can learn kind of as an ethnographer, more of like an anthropologist. I'm definitely interested in living in like intentional community, but I also don't want, I don't particularly love the insular quality of an intentional community. So I'm still sort of exploring what I like and what I don't like. So starting with the blue zones for me is a really good start. Having lived at the Emerald Village was a really good start. Just to feel what it's like to do sociocracy. I think the decision-making parts of the eco village is honestly like really juicy. So I think just learning how to make decisions together in a more respectful way is really important. And you guys touched on so many of the things that I think about, how do we deal with polarized politics? How do we deal with like intellectual diversity and philosophical diversity? And so my other endeavor seemingly has nothing to do with this, but actually has everything to do with this. And I'm trying to design also an educational platform. But I'm starting really, really small by just trying to work with, I'm going to hopefully run a pilot at UCSD and work on getting some of their materials into Audible form. So it's like a really small little bite-sized piece of it, but I'd like to get to the point where I'm able to, I'm an auditory learner. I don't really learn by reading as much as I do by hearing. But to create and even gamify in the long term information that will enrich our lives and increase our intellectual rapport / trust, because I think a lot of what the problem is in the United States is like no one trusts each other. Like the average person has like 2 friends they can call in an emergency. Like we're just like kind of lonely here. And I think a lot of that is politics. So, not to take on too much, like I said, I just want to bite off like the smallest little piece and see if I can create a business for myself that allows me to travel a little bit more. But I think working on this education piece and the trust piece and like how we interact with one another, how we deal with conflict. I do think that people in the academic space deal with conflict better than people in the political space. While they still have ego sometimes and can be a little bit self-righteous, they're a little bit more process oriented. Like they're more likely to look at a study and say, oh, I don't think that you were rigorous collecting enough data, or I don't think this data is valid. I think you need to, you're just wrong and I'm right. They actually tend to get a little bit more into the details. which I really respect. So I'd like to see both. I'd like to explore my own, preferences within the eco-village life, and I'd like to create a business that allows me to help other people get more, I guess, intellectually and like spiritually page in the long run. It's kind of like a bigger vision, much like you guys were talking about gamifying information, and of course I'm thinking also about the financial piece as well. And yeah, I feel like I'm a baby still in this space. Like I have a lot of ideas that are not fully developed, and but I really respect everything I'm hearing, and I'm really excited for everybody on their journey and their path.
I would not say you're a baby in the space, Ashley.
I feel like a baby.
Reiki, thanks for being here, brother. Real quick before you jump off. Oh, you jumped off. I'm just gonna say, like with you, Ashley, Phoenix, Reiki, like I feel like so much resonance with all of you, and we've been talking about these things for a long time, and realizing that, Reiki's looking at North Carolina, Ashley's looking at maybe California or Blue Zone, Phoenix in New Mexico, Colorado. And just like realizing how like part of me is like, oh, like, man, I wish like all of us were wanting to like live in the same spot and create something together. And also seeing the beauty and the diversity of all of the kind of the visions and perspectives of each person. And really hoping that, to me, like what would be so fulfilling is that we really find a way to like network all of these things together, and where, yeah, like I think a lot of people who are interested in this village living, eco villages, do like the potential of being able to travel between different communities. And I think some people want to be super rooted and like I want to raise my kids here, I want to build the school, I don't want to be traveling and nomadic at all. And then some people are in a little different phase, like maybe for a few years they're like, oh, I'd love to actually like live somewhere for 8 months and then live in another village for a year, and move between. And I think that's where that fractional ownership or building equity, where maybe certain parts of the village are more for like traditional ownership, like a family that's like, hey, like I want to be here for the next 25 years, like I want my plot. And some people who are like, oh, like I think I might be traveling between communities for the next 5 to 7 years, but I don't want to just pay landlords rent and lose all that money. Like, so then maybe there's that fractional ownership of a portion of the homes on a property are kind of more of that fractional ownership, where you own a share, and you can maybe be at Tico Time for part of it, and you can maybe be in North Carolina for part of it, and you can maybe be in Costa Rica for part of it. So yeah, just finding a way that we can all kind of cross-pollinate and network these community projects together, like, is something that brings me a lot of joy, that to think that we can do that. So well, we are at the top of the hour, so I want to honor people's time, but thank you very, very much for showing up and contributing your wisdom.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to to all of it. And Phoenix, I do this next week, it's just this whole Baja trip has been crazy, as you know, so it's been hard to kind of ground down. So whether, I think I will have a little more time in this next week, so maybe you and I can sync up, and then if not, once I get back to California, like I'd really love to drop in with you and just go a bit deeper about tribal lights and stuff.
Nice. I think we're planning a trip down south in like mid-December, so if you're back by then.
Oh yeah, what, down south as in where?
Well, to Long Beach, but since we're going that way, we could possibly meet up in San Diego.
Yeah. I think I'll be back by I think I'm probably gonna leave maybe like a day or two after Thanksgiving, so I'll probably be back at the end of this month. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, let me know if we can meet up.
yeah, that'd be great in person. And then if not, yeah, sometime soon you and I, like, let's drop in deeper and have a one-on-one.
Okay.
And Ashley, I'll definitely see you when I'm in San Diego.
Heck yeah. When are you coming?
Probably, I don't know, the next couple weeks. By the end of the month, I'll be back there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
There's a gathering of the tribes this weekend. I don't know if you're doing anything Saturday,
I
but
know. Yeah, it's
yeah.
on my calendar. I have like a early Thanksgiving thing because I'm leaving town with family, and then afterwards I might be able to come by.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, y'all have a beautiful, blessed day.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thanks so much for being here. All right.
Bye.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Mhm, 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 mhm.